So the first question that I think we need to address is how do I back up my excuse me, sorry, sinus day to day. How do I back up my goods and services? I think there's a couple things that you want to think about. Number one is the size or the amount that you actually need to back up. Do you need to back up a whole bunch of stuff and a bunch of memory and things like that, and photos and videos, or is it like a bunch of documents? Big difference. I know that in my own career, again, my background is in journalism, 2 degrees in magazine publishing. That's or a degree in master's in magazine publishing, 2 degrees, not 2 degrees in magazine, but one is good enough. But over time, that has changed. It's evolved. So it used to be me writing for Playboy or New York Post or ARP, the magazine, or Family Circle. And my business was just me interviewing people, which I might need an audio backup of or tape. I do go back that far, a tape backup, maybe on a CD, CDIs. Shout out if you remember what a CDI is, those kinds of things. But most of the backup and what my goods and services composed of was me literally writing into a Word document or whatever page maker or whatever happened to be hot at the time. So just the language of it, the stories, and then perhaps backups again of the interviews that I had with the thousands of articles that I did. Some of those might have to be in digital form, but previously they might have been in tape form. My own career evolved into me working with y'all. And part of that is this show. This show, each episode of the show takes up a gigabyte of memory. And so this episode 411. So it's at least a gigabyte of memory because this is in 720p and or 4K depending on the episode. So we're talking about these massive files, and some of these files are quite a few, like a couple dozen gigabytes. So the first thing you want to do is figure out what kind of stuff are you having to back up. For me, I transformed from being a journalist, which my backup was as simple as a few gigabytes of old stories, to now where one of the main things I do is hang out with you at bringyourworth.tv. With that in mind, then my backup is way more robust. We're talking in the hundreds of gigabytes. Again, if the average episode is at least 1 gigabyte, and this episode 411, we're talking we're talking 500 gigabytes off the rip. And so if we're working with that kind of work, and that'll be like a half a terabyte for you techies out there, so a half a TB. So number one, you want to figure out how much exact storage you actually need and what kind of storage it is. I think it's a really important part of it. The second part of it is figuring out how long you actually need to keep this. Now, for tax purposes and stuff like that, I think here in America, at least for my tax consultants that I've talked to over the years that I've worked with, then usually you need to keep your receipts and things like that for up to no more than 7 years. So I think it's a 7 year window as I speak, a 7 year window for a potential audit from the IRS, Internal Revenue Service here in America, or whatever your respective thing might be. Again, I'm not a I'm not a lawyer, nor am I a CPA or a tax consultant, so please don't quote me on that. But whatever happens to be the case in your business, you see how I can spout that quickly? Because that's connected to my business in the country, city, and state that I live in. So you should know those kinds of things. We'll get into that a little bit more later. So number one is figuring out what kind of material you need to save and back up. And number two, how long you need to back it up. It might be that you need to back it up forever. It might be that, oh, I need to back it up just for a little while. Or it might be things that you pass on to a client and then they move on and go from there. The main thing we want to do is to, if there's a fire, a hurricane, a tornado, any of those things that are happening, even if it ends up being a man-made disaster, or ends up being like an accident in your home or in your office, or in my case, I actually have a home office, those kinds of things, your stuff is protected because you have these great opportunities as an entrepreneur to show up and to support those that want to support your business. But if something happens and a crisis happens and you're not able to have a good backup of your stuff, you can't serve the people that you committed to serving, the people that want to be served. And like I said at the top of the show, sometimes it's in these very moments where we're needed the most. And it'll be a shame. Third part of that, excuse me, which I think is really important, is that so many of y'all, including myself, we're solopreneurs. We're it. So if I don't back up my stuff, I don't have a business. If I want to do a retrospective of the best episodes of Bring Your Worth TV, which I did over the holidays while I was on break, and something happened to my backups, and I'll get into the nitty gritty of my backups. Something happened to my backups, or da da da, fire happened, whatever, and episodes disappeared. There might be a version on YouTube or another platform, but that right, the masters are gone. Masters as in the music industry, not another type of master. Those originals are gone. That's on me because I'm the head of my business. So you need to take that very, very seriously. As you look into what kind of stuff you want to do, I have some great recommendations that I use. First one by far is Dropbox. Dropbox is great. Shout out to Drew Houston. Hope you're doing fantastic. Dropbox is really, really simple. It does a cloud duplicate. So I think we're familiar with cloud at the point. So basically, it means there's some type of computer, you can call it a computer, somewhere else, and there's a duplicate of what's currently on your hard drive, what you've saved. Something happens to your computer, and I'm looking at my laptop right now, that's why I'm looking down. Something happens to your computer, then you're able to ping it, give it a message, and say, hey, I'm going to need my stuff back. And it's like, great, we saved it 9 a.m. this morning. Let's get it back to you. You get your new computer, it downloads. It literally just happened to me 2, 3 summers ago, where I was vacationing with my family. It was a mini family reunion because the safety protocols that lifted up just a little bit with um, with COVID, so we were able to see each other a bit. So we had this mini family reunion. It was on the beach, and there happened to be a heavy beach storm, not beach storm, thunderstorm on the beach, and it hit the place that we were renting, and it shorted out everything, including my laptop. And I'd already been doing the show, so it's probably 2022, and so I had to come home, and I was like, okay, I have a show in a few days, and I think I was doing the show twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, and I was like, all right, well, maybe I want to have a show this week because I can't access my stuff. Yeah, but again, I met Drew many, many years ago when he was part of Y Combinator. When I lived in San Francisco, he's the co-founder of Dropbox. And so I've been a Dropbox member user forever. I'm thinking since 2012, 2000, 2010, let's say. So I've been a user of Dropbox regularly for at least 15 years, minimum. My whole point is that it's not as a flex, but more like it's reliable. And when I came back, I use Apple. So I went to the Apple store and grabbed a new laptop and then got it back. I was still traveling, got it back, got it back to my family's place. And then went in, downloaded, I got on the internet, downloaded the Dropbox app. There's a little app that automatically saves things for you. Download the Dropbox app again. Luckily, I have my passwords and my mind and so forth. Got in, and I was like, new computer, please download. And then I would say by evening, I might have let it run overnight. Then all the stuff was back in my hard drive. And luckily, I was able to get my old laptop fixed because it got shot. But it was nice to be able to have that backup. That's what Dropbox does. This makes sense for so many different reasons. Those of us that are creators, if you watch some of the older episodes, I've told the story of me being in New Orleans, shout out to New Orleans, living there, working on my first major book called Porn and Pong, How Grand Theft Auto, Tomb Raider, and Other Sexy Games Changed Our Culture. Shout out to y'all if you remember me from that time. And yeah, I was well into the manuscript. It was a particular chapter I was working on, and the book took me 5 years. So each chapter of the 10 chapters was some intense work. And my hard drive just decided to die one day. And this was in 2004. Dropbox didn't exist. So there was no backup. And luckily, I think I only did a little bit of work on it, and then I was able to piece together most of it from memory. But it was that's scary. You're working on a project for 5 years and it's suddenly gone. So, I'm not just talking. It's like after decades in the game, you learn this the hard way. Either you learn it because you listen to someone like me who's been through it, and you're like, okay, I'll back up my stuff now, or you learn it the hard way. And there's great works of art that have been lost. Shout out to Madlib, who the very popular hip hop producer. If you know, you know. If you don't know him, that's okay. But he's one of the masters of the game, and he lost his record collection in the LA fires. That makes me grieve for many, many different levels. Yeah, I can't even get into it too deep because it'll be a whole nother episode. But you have stuff happening like that. He had a physical collection because it's records, but we have the opportunity, particularly if we have digital things, to back things up. And of course, we can back up things from record, but that's another episode. My point is that we have this great opportunity right now to go ahead and take care of our stuff if we're willing to do it. Speaking of that, on my email newsletter at joindamon.me. I talk about this briefly. You can join it for free over at joindamon.me. It's every Wednesday morning. I talk a little bit more about being prepared before you have to be. So if you want to go deeper on the subject, you want some reading to do, go and check it out. I have some good links in there as well. Another one I'd recommend is called Shoebox. Shoebox, as I was hinting at, um, if you're going to do, if Dropbox is focused on your digital only goods, Shoebox is a great way to work with your physical only goods. Shoebox, the name, which I love the name, fantastic name. The name goes back to when we would have receipts or piece of paper, even baby pictures. Shout out to my late grandmother, rest in peace. When we'd have those pictures, we would put them in a shoebox and maybe put them under our bed or put them in the closet, right? That's the old school generation for doing that. That wasn't part of my generation, but definitely my parents and above, and obviously my grandmother. Maybe y'all can relate. Maybe y'all still do it, depending on the culture that you're from. Shoebox is the equivalent of that, except it does it digitally. So you got your receipts, you got not so much baby pictures, but things from your business. You have things that you're certified in. You have things that you need for customers. Depending on the type of business you have, you might have a certain rating or certification that you need to keep on hand. Shoebox does great with that. As with Dropbox, I have a special deal with them, so you'll get a discount if you go through my link. Be sure and check them out, particularly with tax season coming here in the United States. Another suggestion, Western Digital, my favorite company for them, but you need some type of backup hard drive, something. I meant to bring mine out. Mine is actually put away right now. But a couple times a year, in fact, I'm due right now, so I'm glad I'm doing this episode. I will go and back up everything. Yes, I use Dropbox. Yes, I rock with Shoebox, but I have some type of backup, physical backup where I have it on me. Now I'm not taking it with me. It's not like the vault codes or anything or like the red button, but it's something where again I go and I download it, all that stuff, and then I put it away. It's not sitting here next to my coffee. It's not sitting here where my kids can mess with it. So essentially, I have three different versions of everything I'm working on. I have upcoming episodes of Bring Your Worth TV. I have manuscripts I'm working on. I actually do a lot of ghostwriting. All that stuff is on the hard drive. There's a copy in Dropbox, so that makes two versions of it. And there's also a copy on the hard drive, which makes three versions. So if Dropbox, which it has not, but if something happened to Dropbox, so the stuff on my computer and on the external hard drive. If something happens to the external hard drive, because I've moved a lot over the years, something happens to it, it's fine. Got it on Dropbox and on my computer. So there is a chance that all three of those things could happen. But I like the favor of those odds. So finding ways to work on it right now. And in fact, that I think one of the reasons why I was thinking about doing this episode, not only because of LA fires and with the hurricanes and so forth that has been happening, but also too, I think it's time for me to upgrade my hard drive. And so now, again, I'm even going through that transition, which we'll talk about a little bit later, as far as realizing, oh, my business is expanding. The type of work I'm doing is different. Again, this episode 411. Bring Your Worth TV, you can imagine the amount of gigabytes of episodes that I have, and even stuff that's on the cutting room floor. Because what you get is often edited, so that means there's raw footage just sitting there, and that takes up lots and lots of gigabytes. So recognizing in this year, I'm at a different place than I was when I got the hard drive a handful of years ago to do it externally. But I love the brand. I've always trusted the brand. I've been working with them for a while as far as having them back up my stuff. Use the link, and I think there's some sales going on with that. So, what about y'all? How are y'all backing up your goods and services? Are you nervous about not having your goods services backed up? Are you backing up enough? And how has that changed over the years? Did you used to keep a whole bunch of stuff on memory and now you don't do it as much? Is it a case of you used to have a lot of paper and now you're going digital? Let me know in the comments, even if you're watching the replay. I love to hear. And you might give some insight that will help other people that are viewing. I'm entrepreneur coach Damon Brown.